more than likely he's going to be the MVP this next season. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to NBA Now. I'm your boy Dom, and we're getting right into things here today. So, today, I figured I'd kind of change up the videos a little bit. Obviously NBA season is not going right now, so kind of just trying to play with things before we get into the season. And obviously you guys know, if you guys have watched any of my other videos, I have 2K gameplay in the background. So with the release of NBA 2K22, I kind of wanted to mix my content, see how it could do. And so that's what we're doing today, and we're kind of talking about why Luka Doncic deserved to be the cover athlete for this game. Because I know, at least when it was released, there was a little bit of controversy for it. For most part, everybody, understands what Luka is, but for those that maybe don't fully understand it or aren't quite fully aware of what this man Luka is capable of, we are here to talk about that today. So obviously 2K releases later tonight. If you guys are playing it, let me know in the comments down below. If not, that's cool too, if we're just here to listen for the basketball part. Anyways, so let's look at Luka Doncic. Let's take it back to, before we get to where he's at now, let's take it back to when he was overseas, winning MVPs, doing all that sort of thing, right? So this is a guy that's been playing professional basketball since 2014, right? Not a very old player, but he's been playing professional basketball since 2014. And that's pretty insane. I mean, yeah, that's pretty insane. Although he only averaged 2 points per game when in 2014-2015 season, he went on to win MVPs overseas, peaked at a 16 point per game scorer, and his final year he had 12.8 points, 0.4 blocks, 1.1 steals, 5 assists, and almost 6 rebounds per game, shooting about almost 30% from 3 and 46% from field goal percentage. So obviously overseas stats are very different than NBA stats. Just the game is played at a different pace and in a different way over there. Obviously it's still basketball, so you can understand it for the most part, but it isn't the same as like NBA stats, right? Or at least you can't compare them directly. So he did all that. He came to the NBA. He was drafted number 3 by the Atlanta Hawks and immediately traded on draft night to the Dallas Mavericks, who wanted him desperately, which allowed the Atlanta Hawks to get Trae Young. And so far, it's looked like a very win-win trade for both of them. Obviously, the Atlanta Hawks also got a future first-round pick in that trade, which resulted in the drafting of Cameron Reddish, who he's got good potential. He's shown some good things, and we'll have to kind of see what he does. I still think the funniest thing he's done in the NBA was when he tried to do like the 720 layup and look like the Tasmanian devil out there. But yeah, he's been all right for the Hawks, and it's looked like a pretty win-win trade for both teams. Obviously, both teams having made the playoffs. The Hawks coming out of a conference finals appearance, and the Mavs having kind of built a rivalry with the Clippers. We'll see if that continues this year, but losing, I want to say they lost in 7 this last season to the Clippers. Might have been 6, but I think it was 7. But regardless, this last season, Luka Doncic, he averaged 27 points per game, 8 rebounds, and almost 9 assists. So just phenomenal. He made his second All-Star team, and I mean, this is a guy that, we were talking about percentages for his overseas. He brought his 47, almost 48% from the field over to the NBA, and then he just improved his 3-point shot up to 35% this last season, which shows good signs. Although not the best free throw shooter at around 75%, 70% for his career so far. That's definitely left some stuff to be desired, but he's been a very good player since he entered the NBA. We've all kind of seen how he's just been able to score when he wants to score, and he hasn't been a negative defender. You know what I mean? you kind of look at him and you don't expect a great defender. And although he's not a great defender, he's serviceable. He uses his body weight well to just stop defenders from getting by him, and plays decent defense. Which is, you don't have to be a star defender if you're that good at offense, but if you can be good at defense, that only helps your team more, and that just makes it easier to build around you, right? Which I think he's really done for the Dallas Mavericks. And this is a guy that doesn't really have a second option, right? So obviously they paid Porzingis the bag when they brought him in. They gave him over $150 million contract, with obviously a player option, which I think at this point he's guaranteed to accept, in hopes that, what he showed in New York could transfer over, being an all-star and all that. But I don't know if it was the injury, or if he's just never been able to find the flow, or the further injuries. Whatever it is, he cannot, or has not to this point, gotten back to what he did in New York when he was an all-star. And Luka's still been able to make the best out of it, right? This is a guy that, he came in and, I want to say his first year in the league, it was Dirk's last year. And, everyone was wondering, can he be the next franchise player? Your franchise player is retiring. And he came in and instantly on the spot became one of the most popular players in the NBA. And a pretty clear franchise player for the Dallas Mavericks. Averaging over 20 points per game in just his rookie season, right? You look at the rest of the roster, though, this last season, and there wasn't a whole lot, right? There's good players around, but, like, the Seth Curry trade, you sadly ended up getting Josh Richardson, who just wasn't able to be as effective next to Luka as Curry was. And then they even went out and they picked up, They went out and they picked up JJ Redick, right? To kind of hopefully fill that. I don't, to be honest, know exactly how well he did for them this last season. Averaged about 7 points. Didn't fill the role though that Curry had left, or didn't fill it to the level that Curry had left it, right? Obviously, we know JJ's a very good shooter. This last season he shot over 45% from three, so he did his job, but just wasn't able to do what Curry did for them, because Curry was able to kind of be a secondary ball handler for Luka and stuff like that. And we saw what he did in Philly, and it showed how much they really won that trade. Although initially I had thought that the Mavs had probably won the trade, because they brought in more defense with the Richardson move, and he just was not able to be the shooter that they needed. And it's not that they needed that super high-end shooter, but he just was not really able to shoot the ball like that. And definitely not in the way that Seth Curry was able to do. But yeah, a lot of big men on this roster, in part due to Porzingis's, injury-prone issues. I didn't really know how to phrase that, to be honest, but in part due to his issues with injuries and stuff like that. So there's a lot of big men on this roster. And then typically some of the wings on this roster are kind of smaller. So it's a kind of an interesting constructed roster. But yeah, I think it's, clear why Luka deserved to get cover athlete. He's become one of the faces of the NBA, and, hasn't even been in the NBA for a handful of years, right? He's only been in the NBA for 3 years and has already made a huge impact. He's done great the last 2 years in the playoffs against the Clippers, like I said, kind of building that rivalry. And I think they had a really good shot at winning it this last year. And that's, pretty much off of Luka and role players, because until Porzingis can bring himself back to what he did in New York, he's just a better role player on this team than others. And a much higher paid role player on this team than some others. But it is kind of sad to see that, throughout his rookie contract, for the most part, you're probably not going to see, that second star with him, which is the time when it's easiest to get that second star with him, because He's making a lot less money, and we know that this upcoming season will be his last year on his rookie contract, with him making about $10 million. Before that jumps up to 35, and eventually by the 2026-2027 season, he'll be making over $47 million. And so that, obviously he deserves the money, hands down. But it does kind of suck for the Dallas Mavericks, because this is, your new franchise player, and you just haven't been able to get, although he's, locked in, he clearly wants to be in Dallas. I think he really embraced the city from the moment he was drafted, and the fact that they wanted him, where there was a lot of, draft controversy when he was drafted on where he would go. Would he be number 1? Would he be number 10? Right? Is he talented enough? Can he play in the NBA? All that, and Dallas wanted him and took the initiative to not only get him, but trade up to get him. And I think he really embraced the city in that. But it does kind of suck that, you have all that money tied into Porzingis and some of these other players, and you don't currently have that second star for him. Although it's kind of been a bit tricky for those stars to be available up to this point. It just does seem that Dallas's front office could have probably done a little bit better building around him up to this point. Maybe, I think the Kristaps trade, it kind of came out of nowhere, right? So maybe did you give up a little much in that trade? Especially in hindsight, you gave up too much, but at the moment, did you have to give up all that for the trade? Was it the smartest thing to initially extend him? Even the Tim Hardaway contract actually is a pretty good contract, because by the time he's 32, it goes down to where he'll be making 16. So actually, that's a pretty good contract for Tim Hardaway, but still a decent chunk of money paid into a guy that isn't a star player. Although I think he fits well next to Luka. There's good chemistry there. He clearly wanted to stay in Dallas, taking a decreasing contract until he gets a little bit older. And so that, you've been able to bring in some guys, but as Reggie Bullock being your big free agent signing, just not really fantastic, right? Pretty level as a front office move wise. And although they didn't have anybody with the potential of Porzingis when they went out and got him, it doesn't look fantastic for them. Although for the Knicks, it doesn't look fantastic either, considering they got Dennis Smith Jr., who I don't even know if he currently has a contract with the Pistons, who I think he got traded to. But yeah, he's clearly not worth the pick that he was drafted at. It was clearly a smart decision for Dallas to pick Luka over him, and it definitely probably sucks for New York fans to have that as your return. But when you look at what Porzingis has done outside of New York, they probably don't feel too bad about that, because they got some first-round picks out of it, which obviously the value of first-round picks just continues to rise as more and more talent seems to enter the draft every single year and enter the league. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to take this video, talk about Luka Doncic, why he really, deserved to be the cover athlete for 2K, and, how, more than likely he's going to be the MVP this next season, which is, if I was a betting person, I would probably bet on Luka Doncic. If I was betting on a new MVP, I would bet on Luka Doncic to be MVP, because that one of these years, they haven't been that top 4 seed, but one of these years with a decent roster, and say Porzingis steps up, or say just one other player steps up a little bit, maybe you get like Luka as your 1, and you get 2 3-level players, right? You get Kristaps as a 3, and I don't know, we'll throw Josh Green, right, a younger player, maybe he's another 3, right, talent wise, that's still, giving you that 15 and all that. And you look at that could become a second option, right? One of these years, the Mavs are going to jump to be probably a top 3 team. Whenever that happens, I think Luka Doncic pretty much is locked in for that MVP. And it very well could happen this next season, as some of the West is depleted with injury, especially for the regular season, which only helps you win more games and push towards that MVP. And, he's only going to get better, right? This is a guy that there's been memes about him in the offseason of, all these players have to be in the gym and he's just out there smoking on a boat or whatever. But, that's just truly how good he is. You know what I mean? That he's still going to come into next season, I think, even better than last season. Who knows? He might even average 30. And he doesn't need to post the pictures to Instagram about him getting better. He just puts in the work silently and comes in and is constantly getting better, which is, you know, not something you can say for every NBA player. And so yeah, I'm super excited to see what he'll do this season. I think he'll definitely have earned this cover. If you don't believe he's earned it already, I think he'll have earned it by the end of the season in most, if not everybody's eyes. And it's going to be fun to watch. So, I mean, yeah, it'll be fun to watch. But yeah, this has been NBA Now. If you guys enjoyed, it's been your boy Dom, and I'll catch y'all next time. Hope you guys enjoy 2K22. Peace out.